Welcome back to my channel. It's me again, of course. It's nobody else. Um, so last year in 2019, I made a New Year's resolution. First one I made to write. Not write, to read more books because I've always enjoyed reading, but I never actually read much because I always put it off and stuff. And I watched this video. It was by PewDiePie, and he said something about how he wanted to complete stuff, and then that inspired me to read more, because he decided to read more that year, and that inspired me to read more. In 2019, I decided I'm going to try to read 50 pages a day of any book. So yeah, I made a little journal here of the books I read. So I'm going to just go through it and talk about the books that I read. And yeah, I don't know, I just really wanted to do this video, so let me go get some books. Okay, I'm back. I was just going around and collecting a few books to show to you guys, but I forgot my reading log in my room, so I'm gonna get it. But I just wanted to get a few. I realized I'm not gonna be able to grab all of them because there's so many that I read this year. But I have a lot, so I'll be back. So the first book that I read this year was Halo First Strike. Great book. I love this book. It was a really fun read. I kind of messed it up a bit, but that's okay. And yeah, I like this. This was the first book that I read this year. It's probably one of my favorite action books, I would say. The next book I read was Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. 177 pages. I didn't like it. Next book I read, Halo Ghosts of Onyx. Now, this book is actually really hyped among Halo fans. Like, everybody loves this book, and I was really looking forward to reading this, but I didn't like it as much. I gave it a 9 out of 10 stars, or whatever. So I didn't really like it. Then I read Tale of Two Cities for school. I don't like books that go a really long time through time, like years, for the story to be completed. So I didn't really like that one. I read Pet Sematary. That book got me into Stephen King. Really got me into reading more than I already was. It was a great book. I read it in 8 days. Then I read The Running Man by Richard Bachman, also Stephen King. It was great, actually. I liked it a lot. It was action. It was cool. It was suspenseful. Everything was awesome about it. Then I read 2 short stories, Cat from Hell and N. N is amazing. And then, yeah. Then I read Carrie. Here it is. Carrie. It was great. I loved it. It was spooky. But I already knew what happened, so. But it was good. I liked it. The next one was Misery. Oof. Misery is one of the best books I think I've read this year. Honestly, later I'm going to make a top 10 books, or top 5 books I read this year. Or top 10 favorite books and least favorite books. This is definitely probably going to be on my favorite books. Then the next book was Ready Player One. I don't know. I don't like YA, young adult, at all. But I did not like this one at all. I mean, some YA is good, but no, I didn't like it. Then I read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was okay. Cujo was sad. It was good. It was sad, but I felt like it was drawn out. It took me 13 days to read that. Yeah. So I didn't really like it. Then, and I'm at March right now, by the way. I only read Cujo and The Green Mile during March. But The Green Mile, that's a book that I read. It was, I gave it a 9 out of 10 stars. I don't know. A page fell out of here, by the way. So that's too bad. Then I read The Shining. Whoa. Shining. I did not like it when I first read it, actually. I mean, it got me back into reading because after I read Ready Player One, I went into a reading slump. Terrible thing. And that lasted all the way to The Shining. The Shining got me back into reading. That's good. But I looking back on it, I like this book a lot more than I liked it when I was reading it. So, yeah. Then I read Dune. Time, I hated the book. I hated it so much. Now looking back on it, I think that's kind of good. Oops. So yeah. Then I read The Stand. This book. I really like this book. It's a great one. Weasels. I listened to the audiobook because I knew that I wouldn't be able to get through this book by reading it. So yeah. Then I read the audiobook. I listened to an audiobook called The Dispatcher. It was okay. Then I read The Brethren by John Grisham. It was okay. Then I read another one called Evil Eye, audiobook. It was okay. Yeah, these three weren't great. And this right here is when I really gotten into reading again. Like, I sped through so many books. Salem's Lot. I read this 600-page book, more than 600 pages, in 4 days. Mainly, I read it in 2 sittings, but it was like crazy. I mean, the first day I read 400 pages, the next day I read to 300, then the next day I read to like 600, then the last day I read 50 pages. So that was a really good one. Then Velocity, which is a Dean Koontz book, I read in 4 days. It's okay. The Long Walk. Actually, I think this is maybe I think it's my favorite Stephen King book, first of all. And it's one of my favorite books. Probably my second favorite book. I don't know. Yeah, probably my second favorite book in general. It was a great. It's really deep, honestly. I was not expecting it to be this deep, and there's so much things, and I can't wait to reread this book. I also read this one in 4 days. It was the best one, maybe even the best read I had this year. So, yeah, great book. Yeah, I know. Anyways, then the next book I read, I decided, I was like, I don't want to read. I was like, no, I want just a calm book for a little. So I read A Dog's Purpose. It was okay. It was actually pretty nice. It was it was emotional. It was sad. It was good. I liked it. It was a good emotional book. It's pretty small. I enjoyed it a lot. Then I read TikTok by Dean Koontz. It was pretty fun, I think. It was a pretty fun read, honestly. I read it in 4 days also. Oh, I skipped one. Before I read A Dog's Purpose, I listened to an audiobook called Galaxy's Edge. It was sci-fi. Now, the thing about this book is it's split into 2 parts, and both of them are 2 different books in one thing. The first part was great. It was awesome. It was like Halo, but different. It was like Halo, but different. Yeah, I said that already. And it was a pretty cool thing. It was this sci-fi people trying to do some weird thing, and they got ambushed and they got stuck on this planet and stuff, and it was pretty cool. Then the second part was like, it was a completely different story, and it was terrible. I love the first part of this book, but I hate the second part. Now, back after TikTok, I read Intensity, also by Dean Koontz. It wasn't as good as the hype, but it was still good. Then I read Desperation. I don't think I brought that one with me. Did I? No. But I have these old copies of Desperation It's really cool. I also read The Regulators after that. That one took me a little longer. It took me 6 days. I mean, okay. Think about it. I don't think this is spoilers, but it might be considered spoilers for some people. I feel like the characters died so fast, you never got attached to them. And you can never actually like them. And that's what I didn't like about that book, because I didn't like them. But I know Landon, he really likes, he read it a second time and liked it. So maybe I might like it my second read through. Next one I read was the novella, The Mist in Skeleton Crew. Now, I love this one. I read it in an airport while I was waiting, because we were going back somewhere, and I was like, you know what? Our flight got delayed like 5 times. So because of that, it was delayed maybe 3 hours, maybe more. I don't remember. But it was delayed a long time. Like, we were supposed to leave at like 3 or something, and we didn't leave till 8 or 9. I don't know. But I read the whole Mist, this whole thing, in that time while I was waiting for the flight. So that was pretty fun. Then I read It, which is probably, okay, yeah, probably I think that one is a bit better than The Long Walk. So yeah, I read that pretty fast, honestly. That one was great. I loved it. It was like, yeah, it was great. It was a great book. Then I read The Sundog. Oof, that was weird. The Sundog. Sundog was amazing. I liked that one. It was a great novella. And then I read Cell. Do I have that? Yeah, I do. I read this book. School started, by the way, when I started reading this one. Oh no, he's peeing on the phone. I read this book right when school started, and I actually ended up listening to the audiobook on the bus. So I read this in a bus. That was great. It passed the time because everybody was pretty stupid on the bus, and yeah, it was great. Then I read Bay's End by Edward Lorne on a Kindle, the app Kindle. I don't actually, but yeah, I read that one. Great book, honestly. I like that one a lot. And then I read The Langoliers on 3 days, on a 3-day weekend. Langoliers was pretty good. No, okay, what am I saying? I'm confusing myself. Langoliers, I did not like it. Like, hardly at all. No, not for me. Then Secret Garden. I like this one. I did predict the ending before it happened, just a little bit. But I did like it. I liked it. And then Firestarter. I mean, it was a good book. It wasn't my favorite personally, but the ending was fantastic. It was good. I liked it. I liked the characters. I liked it, but it's not my personal favorite. Then I read, oh, and by the way, I'm counting short story collections and novellas in this, so yeah. Night Shift. I read this short story collection in 3 days, not 4 days, but it was, yeah, I liked them. Mainly, I liked most of them. I think that there was maybe a few that I didn't care for, but I liked it a lot. It was a good short story collection. Then I read Dr. Sleep, the original one, the original hardcover. I have actually a lot of hardcovers. Once I actually get a good bookshelf, I'll do a tour of my book collections. And yeah, so Dr. Sleep, I liked it. I thought that the ending was actually pretty good compared to most endings. It actually kind of wrapped it up. Then I read Fog Warning. I told somebody that I read 2 of his books, Edward Lorne, but I forgot about Fog Warning. I read it in 1 day. It was great. It was a fantastic book, 140 pages, And then The Institute. I have the first edition, of course I do. There's no paperback. Oh, great. But I read that one pretty quickly. 9 out of 10. Then I read... Sorry about that. I'm back now. Was it talking about The Institute? Yeah, I really liked that one. It was good. A good book. Great book. I liked it. I read it pretty fast. And then I read The Eyes of the Dragon. Eyes of the Dragon. I liked this one a bit. No, it wasn't good. I mean, personally, I thought that it was. I think that I read a bit of it, and then I switched to the audiobook because I didn't like it. It was. I mean, it's confusing because it's like a kid's book, but at the same time, it's not a kid's book. It's like an adult book at the same time, and it was. I don't know. It was the only thing that I liked about it, or actually one thing that I wish this book had was a sequel. Shut up, dogs. Shh. Okay. No, I do like the dogs. Sorry. What I didn't like, what I wish that this book was, is in the end. Spoiler warning. In the end of this book, there's two of the characters go on a quest to find Randall Flagg. I wish there was a sequel, because I think that sounds a lot more interesting than what this book actually was. So, yeah, but they're mentioned in the Drawing of the Three. But yeah, okay. Next one. The next book I read was, where is it? I know I brought it. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I read this book twice now. It's great. It's funny. But I let friends borrow it, and it came back like this. All messed up and stuff. So that's what happened, sadly. But it was a good book. Great. I liked it. It's funny. There's a lot. I don't know. Anyways. Sorry. Just 1 second. Okay, the next book I read was Lord of the Flies. I liked it. This is a dog. I liked Lord of the Flies. It was probably the best school book I've read in a long time. I liked it. I thought that the scene with Simon and the pig head was fantastic. And then, yeah, I liked that one. Then I read 1984. Yuck, dog slobbered on the table. Gross. I read this one. I didn't like it very much. I liked it at the end. I liked the ending, though. I liked when he went to the place and stuff. So next book I read was Slaughterhouse-Five. I thought this was a horror book. It's about World War II. It's a peace book. It was pretty good, actually. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a bit weird that it was time travel and all that, but it was good. I liked it. It was good. Then next book, Revival. Ooh. I really related to this book, but that ending is the most terrifying thing in the whole world. Ugh. It's the terrifyingest book I've read this year, honestly. It was good. It went across time, and it didn't bother me as much, but terrifying, to say the least. And then the next thing was The Dead Zone. I didn't like it. It went across time so much, like 20 years at least, maybe a little less, but I felt like everything was a subplot. Like there was no main plot to it, I feel like. Mainly it felt like it was just subplot after subplot, and every time that the subplot was completed, then another one came, and there was no actual plot to it. It's just everything just happened and then got solved easily. And I didn't like it. not very much. Now, Catcher in the Rye. I read this book because I'm going to read it in school soon, next year. Or it is 2020. But I read this book, and I really liked it. It was good. It was relatable for me. There's no plot to it, but it was very relatable, and it really made me understand the emotions that I was feeling that I wasn't necessarily, that I couldn't express. The emotions that I felt but couldn't express was expressed in this. So yeah, that's a good, yeah. And I read this, Dolores Claiborne. It was good. Pretty good. Yeah, anyways. Sorry. Sorry. I read Heart in Atlantis next. I actually didn't read all of it. I ended up just looking up summaries for the book, and I quit reading it. I read the first novella, Low Men in Yellow Coats, and I loved it, but I couldn't get through any of the other novellas in the book, so yeah. Then I read Mice Men. It was good. It was pretty, I don't know. Then I listened to an audiobook, What If, about just weird stuff, and I did not like it at all. I listened to it on 3 times with an audiobook because I couldn't stand it. It was terrible. Then Gerald's Game. Yeah. It was pretty, I mean, I liked the ending the most of Gerald's Game, where the guy who was haunting her looked up and he's like, you just made a mermaid, and stuff like that. That was pretty good. I like that. I like the ending, and I think that the guy has the shine, the bad guy, somewhat psychic somehow. And then I read the book for school, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. No. Skeleton Crew. Where is it? I know I have it. Skeleton Crew. It was I listened to the audiobook for it because it was great. I did read The Jaunt by itself, though. The Jaunt is like probably my favorite short story. I liked The Monkey. I thought that one was pretty good, pretty funny. There are some stories I didn't care for much, but there was a lot more that I did care for. I didn't like The Raft, but a lot of people do. I liked Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. I liked The Monkey. I liked The Reaper's Image. Nona was great. Survivor Type is terrifying, to say the least. Grandma was good. Ballet of the Flexible Bullet was awesome. It was pretty good. The Word Processor was pretty heartwarming to me. Yeah. So then after that, I read War on Christmas by Edward Loren. I actually have that book signed, so that's pretty cool. It was okay. I made a review of it, so if you want to check that out, you can do that. Then I read The Dark Half. The Dark Half. It was good. I really did like this one. I mean, it probably isn't my favorite. One of my lesser favorite King books of the ones that I've read. But it was great. It was really mainly the reason why I didn't care for it much is it's so realistic with the stuff. It's like a crime novel, and it's super realistic with the violence. So it's pretty horrific if you like that stuff. I didn't much like it very much, but it's just me. That's just me. And then I read The Gunslinger. Yeah, I should make a review of this soon, but it felt like it was missing some stuff to me. but I did read The Drawing of Three in 2020. That was the first book I read this year. But I really did like. I thought that this one felt like a lot was missing. The Drawing of Three is better, but it felt like it was mainly a prologue, I think, for the other one, for the next one in the next series. Even though, yeah, I don't know. I'll make a review of this sometime. It was a good book. So, anyways, tell me if you have a lot of books. But tell me, like, if you have a lot of books, say a few that are your favorite, maybe you read this year, and whatever, you know. And yeah, I hope that 2019 was good, and I hope that your 2020 is good. And yeah, I hope that you guys had a good reading year. I'll make top 5 and top worst 5 of the books that I read this year later sometime. But yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.